together. Om Sadashivasamārambhām Shankaracharya-madhyamām Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saha Veeryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastु Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Okay, so we will continue from where we left off. We had completed the 15th verse and we are now on the 16th verse. So let us first chant it. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asato Vidyate Bhavaha
Asato vidyate bhavo
Abhavo Vidyate Sataha
abhavo vidyate satah
Ubhayorapi Drishtantaha
uvayorapi drishtantah
Tvanayostatvadarshibihi
Darshibhi.
Okay, so first we look at the grammar part. Nasato is to be broken up as na asataha. Asat with the visarga. Then vidyate bhavaha. The bhava is to be converted into bhavaha. Bhava with a visarga. Na bhavo na abhavaha vidyate sataha. Ubhayorapi. The ra is the joiner for the sandhi. So ubhayo plus visarga. And api separately. Then drishtantaha breaks into two words. Drishtaha plus antaha. Then tvanayos tatpadarshibihi breaks into four words. Tu plus anyoho. Anyoho, that's anyo plus visarga. Tu anyoho tatva darshibihi. Okay. Then let us look at the Anvaya portion. So we'll break this into different sentences. Asataha bhavaha na vidyate. That is sentence number 1. So vidyate here is to be taken as seen or is. So asataha bhavaha na vidyate. Na vidyate means there is no. There is no. That is the meaning of na vidyate. So vidyate can be taken as is. There is no. Bhavaha, existence. So vidyate na bhavaha. There is no existence of what? Of asataha. So asataha bhavaha na vidyate. There is no existence for asataha. Okay. Each word is very, very important. So I'll explain when we come to the actual words, the actual meanings, because trying to explain here will not make too much sense. So let me just first give you Anvaya. So asataha bhavaha na vidyate. Literally meaning there is no existence for asata. The second sentence is sataha abhavaha na vidyate. It is the opposite. Na vidyate abhavaha. There is no non-existence for sataha. Okay, two major sentences are being said. what is that? Abhava ka existence is not there. There is no existence. There is no existence for asataha. Whatever is asat, there is no existence. Asat ka abhav nahi hota hai. That is the first one. There is no existence for asat. And the second one is the reverse. There is no non-existence for sat. सत का अभाव भी नहीं होता है. टू सेंटेंस. असत का भाव नहीं होता और सत का अभाव नहीं होता. Very confusing. We'll explain. Then the third part is ubayoho anyoho api. Ubayoho anyoho api antaha tattvadarshibhihi tu drashtaha. So antaha, the end here is to be taken as the truth. The antaha, the truth. Anyoho ubhayoho, of these two. Which two? Sat and asat. So ubhayoho anyoho refers to these two, that is sat and asat. Antaha, the end of that, the truth of that. Drishtaha tattvadarshibhihi, is indeed seen, drishtaha tattvadarshibhihi, by the people who actually know the truth. Tattvadarshibhi is a jnani, other name for jnani, the one who knows the truth. So in English, it is going to be very confusing. If you take asat as that which is not real and sat as that which is real, then there is no existence for the unreal. There is no non-existence for the real. And the truth of both these is known by the jnanis, by the people who have seen the truth. Okay. Now it's a very, very technical verse, one of the deepest verses of the Bhagavad Gita, and very critical to understand this verse. In fact, the understanding of this verse is the key to understanding any part of Shastram. Shastram can be understood only if you have really understood this. Okay. Now, two concepts which are very critical to entire Shastram are being introduced here by Krishna. The concepts are Satyam and Mithya. Okay, so what Krishna is actually saying here is that Atma Satya. Atma is Satyam. Anatma is Mithya. So Asat here refers to Atma. Asat refers to Anatma. So Atma is real. Now, remember, I am using this term real very provisionally because I am introducing this teaching. As we go deeper in it, we'll drop the term real and unreal and use the Sanskrit Satyam and Mithya. Because there really is no, actual translation for these terms, since the concepts don't exist in English or any other language. So here I am provisionally saying that what is Krishna saying now? Atma is Sat, real. Anatma is Asat, unreal. Which means what? Atma has independent existence and Anatma depends upon Atma for existence. To understand this, now I would request all of you all to follow it very, very closely. Okay, it's a very, for a beginner, the concept is rather difficult. Once it is clear, everything is fine. So every object has got its own intrinsic nature, Swarupa. The very word Swarupam means intrinsic nature. Swayam ka rupa. So Swarupam, intrinsic nature, the true nature. That is one. Then the object can also have a nature which is not intrinsic, but which is borrowed from outside. Okay. So since we are calling this Swarupa as intrinsic nature, let us call this borrowed nature as incidental nature. Okay. And it's useful to remember the Sanskrit terms So intrinsic nature is called Swabhavika Dharma. That dharma which is Swabhavika, intrinsic to you. That is Swabhavika Dharma. And that is which is not intrinsic, incidental, is called Agantuka Dharma. And therefore, when you say Swabhavika Dharma, it means your own real nature, the intrinsic nature. And when you say Agantuka Dharma, it means borrowed nature, incidental nature. So what is important to understand here is that intrinsic nature will be with you all the time. Intrinsic nature of an object will be there all the time. Therefore, Swabhavika Dharma is always present. But if it is borrowed nature, Agantuka Dharma, because it is borrowed, it will be there only temporarily. It can go at any time. So intrinsic nature is permanent. Swabhavika Dharma is permanent. Incidental nature, Agantuka Dharma, is temporary. So let's try to explain. Supposing you have, you have placed a vessel of water on the gas. Okay, the water is boiling. So it has got heat. Because it is boiling, it has got heat in it. Now the question you ask is, if you want to determine whether the heat in the water is Swabhavika or Agantuka, is it incidental or is it intrinsic? What question should you ask?
Is it borrowed?
Will the water remain hot when you turn off the heat?
Right. So if it has to remain always with you, somebody is put on a speaker, please. Can you put that off? Okay. If it is always with you, then it is intrinsic. But if it is not always with you, then it is temporary. And now the heat in the boiling water is obviously not going to be always there. Why? Because when you turn off the gas or you take the vessel away from the gas, that water will cool down. Therefore, the heat in that water, the boiling water, it is incidental. It is Agantuka Dharma. It is a borrowed heat. Borrowed from where? From the original fire on the gas. And anything borrowed is subject to loss. And therefore, it will go away when the fire is put off or the gas is removed from the water. On the other hand, fire will continue to be hot, whether the fire is in Delhi in summer or the fire is in Siberia in the middle of winter. That fire will continue to be hot. Whenever you say fire, there is heat intrinsically involved. There is never a time when fire is there without heat. And therefore we say, Swabhavika Dharma na agacchati na gacchati. The intrinsic nature does not come, na agacchati, na gacchati, does not go also. Okay, intrinsic nature will never come and go. It is permanently present always. Like the fire is always hot. Okay. Now, the question is, here is the crux of the thing. Any object in this world is perishable. Okay. Every object comes and goes. Sufficient time is there, it will come and go. You take your body, the body comes and goes between two dates. What are those two dates?
Birthday and death.
Birth and death, right? So I said the body exists from womb to tomb. So the body has two dates. It is permanent or impermanent?
Impermanent.
Impermanent.
So when you say something is existing for a limited period of time, it is called impermanent. And when The key word is existing. So an impermanent thing enjoys existence for a limited period of time. There is a coming date and there is a going date. And the body is called impermanent because the date of birth and the date of death are there. What about the universe?
It also has
Permanent.
And also Srishti and Pralayam
And
both are
Pralayam.
there. Therefore, after the Srishti only the universe will exist. After Pralayam, universe will not exist. And thereby, because of that, everything in the universe has a date of birth and a date of death. Okay. So that is the nature of the universe. So every object of the universe is impermanent. It enjoys existence only for some time. Existence is the key word here. It enjoys existence only for some time. Right. Sometime means what? Manufacturing date, expiry date, birth, death. This is the period for which existence is there. Okay. Now, all that impermanent things, they enjoy existence, right? But for a limited period. Therefore, the existence of any object in the world, including the world, is it intrinsic or is it incidental?
Incidental.
It's always incidental. What would have been the problem had we said that existence is an intrinsic property of my watch? What would be the problem?
Then the watch should never, but we create the watch, it is created of pieces and parts, so it
Correct.
cannot be true.
Yeah. So if something has existence as intrinsic property, it means it will be there all the time. Just as fire, wherever it is, has heat as an intrinsic property. And therefore, the fact, Shastra says, if you consider the fact that impermanent things enjoy existence only for limited periods of time, it indicates that it is an incidental property. It is agantuka dharma and not swabhavika dharma. And therefore, what is the most important conclusion? Every object in this universe, it has existence only as incidental property. They don't have existence as their intrinsic property. And if you have existence as intrinsic property, as incidental property, then you have to understand from the water example that water had heat as an incidental property. How did that water get the heat?
From the fire.
borrowed from the
Borrowed
fire.
it from the fire.
The correct word you used, borrowed. You borrowed existence from the fire, you borrowed heat from the fire, right? Okay. Now this borrowed heat, the fact that you say heat is borrowed means that if the water has to continue to have that heat, the water is dependent upon something to continue to have the heat. It is dependent upon the fire for the continuance of the heat in the water, right? That is obvious because when the fire is taken away, the heat in the water will go away. So this water has borrowed heat. And therefore, since you have got borrowed heat, there must be a lender of the heat. The lender of the heat is the fire. Now, we come back to the other statement we made. All impermanent things have incidental existence. And therefore, the existence of anything incidental, existence of any object in this world is incidental, and therefore it is temporary, and therefore it is borrowed. Is that clear? From the water example,
Yes,
we are
Acharya.
saying water borrows the heat. Similarly, the impermanent object which does not have existence as intrinsic nature, because impermanent objects all have agantaka dharma. Existence is agantaka dharma, and therefore they have necessarily had to borrow it. And since they borrowed the existence, they are dependent upon something else for the existence. They borrowed it from whom? You can only borrow it from the person who has it in unlimited quantity. And therefore, it borrowed from Brahman. Brahman is defined as Sat, existence, Chit, consciousness, Ananda, happiness. And therefore, we say that every object in this world borrows existence from Brahman. Or you can say Ishvara also. Now, this borrowed existence, because it is borrowed, it is a dependent existence. And therefore, the dependency is the crucial factor. Anything which has existence dependent on something else, that existence is called mithya. In English, you'll find that mithya is translated as unreal. So from now onwards, you don't use unreal. Unreal has the meaning of not being there, right? So that can confuse. So we say, whenever we talk about the world, we talk about mithya. The moment you use the word mithya, you have to be very clear in your mind that that object borrows its existence from somewhere else. So mithya jagat. The jagat is mithya because the existence of jagat is borrowed from Brahman. Not that you cannot see the jagat. See, this is the understanding which should be very clear. A lot of people, they say jagat is unreal, jagat is unreal, why should it bother you? Jagat is not unreal. It is there in front of you. You can see it, you transact in it. And therefore, it is real for you. But that reality is borrowed from Satya. It's like putting your hand in the water saying that water is borrowed heat, therefore it is not real. No, that borrowed heat can also burn you. What you have to understand in Mithya is that it is very much there, but it is not independent existence. It is borrowed existence. That borrowed existence, that dependency on something else, that is called Mithya. So the definition of Mithya is anything which does not enjoy existence as Swabhavika Dharma, but enjoys existence only by borrowing. Whereas the permanent one, Satyam, enjoys existence as its Swabhavika Dharma, intrinsic nature. And when something is intrinsic, it does not need to borrow. So Satyam is that which has got existence as intrinsic nature. So Satyam is a thing with intrinsic nature, with intrinsic existence. Mithya is a thing with borrowed existence. Okay. Now let me try to explain using an example. Take a gold piece, gold chunk, a gold slab, right? You can buy the gold slab from the bank nowadays. You go and buy a gold slab. You go to some jeweler and you say, make me a necklace and a bangle and a ring from this. Okay. Now, the necklace, is it gold?
Yes.
Then why do you call it necklace?
Namarupa.
It's the Nam.
It's made of gold. It borrows its existence from gold.
The neck, yeah. So the necklace, the word necklace indicates gold in a particular name and form. A particular name and form superimposed upon the gold. That name and form, does it really exist?
No. If
How do you
I'm-
know?
For a time.
Because it can go back to gold, so it's just, temporary. We have just given it a name for convenience.
So you can say that supposing you have a gold chain with you, a gold necklace with you, and I tell you that, give me the what you call necklace, but I don't want the gold. What will you do?
It's not possible.
Possible.
Why is it not
No.
possible? Because
Melt it.
there is no substance called the necklace.
Necklace.
You have to remember that there is no substance, there is no vastu called necklace. There is only a name and a form which is been given to that, which is superimposed upon that gold, and that you are calling the necklace. And therefore, the name and the form are dependent upon gold. So necklace is mithya, gold is satyam. This is the primary concept which one has to understand. What is mithya and what is satyam? Okay. Now look at this loka. It says asataha bhavaha na vidyate. So bhavaha here is the existence. Intrinsic existence is called bhavaha. Swabhavika dharma is called bhavaha. Na vidyate is not there. Asataha. So asataha here is mithya vastu. Okay. Asataha has to be understood as mithya. Remember that when we talk about asat, Shastra divides asat into two types of asat. Now this is the improvement over English. So that's why we use only Sanskrit words. So asat is two types. One is tuchha rupa asat and one is mithya rupa asat. Okay. Mithya rupa asat is that which we talked about, which depends upon existence on something else, on satyam. That is mithya rupa asat. It is temporarily existent. It has a borrowed existence, borrowed from the sat. On the other hand, tuchha rupa asat is something which doesn't exist at all, in no time frame. So normally Shastra uses the example of the horn of a rabbit. Okay, that is one example of Shastra, the horn of a rabbit. Or it says the child of a woman who has not had a child. Do you understand the difference? This child of a woman who has not had a child, what is it? Is it existent? Temporarily existent?
Had existed.
Non-existent.
Non-existent. Tuchha asat.
That is why you should say tuchha, because completely non-existence. Right? It's not there at all. Right? You cannot even imagine that. And therefore, there are two types of asat which Shastra talks about, tuchha rupa asat and mithya rupa asat. And here Krishna is talking about mithya rupa asat and not tuchha rupa asat. Okay. So that is, he's saying that for asat, which is mithya rupa asat, so we call it mithya. For any mithya vastu, bhavaha na vidyate, intrinsic existence is not there. Which means the existence of a mithya vastu is temporary. It is borrowed existence only. One must understand. It can come and it can go. And then he says, sataha abhavaha na vidyate. So that which is got existence as swabhavika dharma called sat. Sat is that which has got existence as a intrinsic quality, the intrinsic feature. Abhavaha na vidyate. For that sat, there is no non-existence at all. So non-existence will mean going out of existence, which means destruction. Okay. So for a sat vastu, that vastu for which there is existence as an intrinsic quality, that vastu can never be destroyed. That's what it means by abhava na vidyate. Abhava, non-existence can never happen. Okay, now remember that in the gold and the necklace example, in any example which we use in the Shastra, you have to always understand that every example will have a limitation. Okay. And if you step beyond the boundary of the limitation, then you will get confused. Now, in the same example which we used, we can conclude that the necklace can be destroyed. The ring can be destroyed. The bangle can be destroyed. When the necklace and the bangle and the ring are destroyed, they go back into gold. That is what is called destruction. Melting the necklace is destruction of the necklace. Meaning, see, remember, normally we look at necklace as the object. It is not. Necklace is the name and form. And therefore, when the name and form is destroyed, which is what happens when you melt the gold, when you melt the necklace, what remains is only gold. That gold can never be destroyed. This is why I said the limitation is necessary. Within this boundary, you cannot afterwards say that no, gold also we can destroy, by mixing with something else. All those, parameters you have to exclude, because we are talking about gold and necklace only. Within the parameter of gold and necklace, gold can never be destroyed. Gold can turn into a necklace by addition of name and form. Names and form can be destroyed by turning back into the gold. And therefore, for name and form, there is never any real existence, intrinsic existence, right? That is why he says, asataha bhavaha na vidyate. For that mithya name form, for that mithya necklace, there can never be any intrinsic existence. It is always borrowed existence. Whereas for the gold, abhavaha na vidyate, there can never be any destruction, because every gold necklace ultimately resolves back into gold. Even when you are making a necklace out of the gold is not destroyed. It only assumes a certain name and form. Therefore, the Sat, the real Sat Vastu, does not have non-existence, and the Asat Vastu, the Mithya Vastu, cannot have existence. A real thing does not have non-existence. An unreal thing does not have natural existence, to put it in English. But again, I will recommend you do not use the terms real, unreal. Use the terms Sat and Asat. And that is why in Tattvabodha we have a definition for Sat. What was that?
That which exists in Kaldraj.
What was the exact words? Do you remember?
That exists in all three time frames.
Trikale Tishtati. Okay. That which exists in all of it. That is why, because Trikala Tishtati. Why Trikala Tishtati? Because Asatna Vidyate, Abhavana Vidyate. There can never be any non-existence. That is why it is always there. Trikala Tishtati has to be taken as is always existing, which means non-existence is not there. And therefore, Tattvadarshivi Drishtaha. The wise people have understood this. Antaha. Antaha means the end, which means clear understanding, which means understanding the true nature of Ubhayoho, both Satyam and Mithya. So, Jnanis are those people who have understood that. What have they understood? If you want to put it in two sentences, Jnanis are people who have understood what?
Difference between Sat and
Sat
Asat.
and Asat.
No, put it into positive language.
There is no existence for Asat and there is no non-existence for Sat.
Correct. So that wise person who understood that Satyam has no abhavaha and Mithya has no bhavaha, that person is a wise person. And when that is done, you are handling the pot. You are still filling water in the pot, right? But with the full knowledge that the pot is Mithya. What is the Satyam?
Clay.
The clay.
Clay alone is the Satyam. And because the pot is Mithya, remember, it can break any time. The pot can go away, but the clay will remain even the pot is broken. Because the pot is very fragile. And what is more fragile is your body. And what is still more fragile is your mind. The body and the mind can go away anytime. What is it dependent upon?
Atma.
On Atma. Atma will never go away. So remember, different people will use different language. Okay, this is the learning as far as talking about when we are interacting with other people in this life. Different people, when we talk to them, some will be very sweet, some will be very rude, some will treat you differently, some will recognize you immediately, some will not bother about you at all, some will insult you, some will gossip, some will reject you, some will praise you. All these are agantuka dharma. Why? Because they come and they go. And therefore, whenever agantuka dharma comes and goes, what it means is anatma is undergoing change. Agantuka dharma literally means anatma will constantly undergo change. And that change cannot be stopped because it is agantuka dharma. Just as your mind changes, other people's mind will also change. There are people who loved you now, who love you now, who did not love you once. There are people who loved you once, who do not love you now. There are people who love you now, who may not love you after 5 years. All this is agantuka dharma, constantly changing anatma. And therefore, the wise person understands both these aspects. And therefore, he is called a wise person because his mind is not affected at all by any change in anatma. If your mind is not being affected, then and then only are you a wise person. Okay, small break. Any questions?
Is love आगंतुक or intrinsic?
Tell me.
बताइए आप.
Agantuk, because it can change. There are times when you love.
Changes, yeah. So it's agantuk. One day we love somebody, the next day we don't.
It's both. It depends if it is like, it can be permanent love, like the higher kind of love,
What is the definition of permanent?
that which does not change.
Are you permanent?
No.
Then,
Okay, thank you.
right.
All emotions are borrowed.
Our emotions are changes in the thoughts. Thoughts come and thoughts go. They are all temporary.
So this ananda is intrinsic quality of the atma.
That will differ. That let's not jump to that. We are far away from that. When you come to that, we'll explain. Okay. Now, I'm trying to make this more, this understanding should be more concrete, and therefore let us do some more racking of the brain. Okay. I hope you people are okay with your grammar. I mean, Hindi grammar, English grammar, it doesn't matter. We'll use both the words. So there are two concepts in grammar. One is noun and one is adjective. Everybody's familiar, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
What is the word for noun in Hindi?
Sangya.
Sangya.
What is the word for adjective in Hindi?
Visheshan.
I'll request whoever it is who's having the speaker on to please put it off. Put an earphone so that you don't disturb others. Okay. Now, this sat, is it a noun? Is it a sangya? Or is it a visheshana?
Sangya.
Yeah. Noun.
It can be Visheshan, it can be
Sangya.
Visheshan.
Excellent. It can be sangya, it can be
and it can
visheshana.
be
How?
Visheshan. Sangya when you're talking about an object, a sat, but Visheshan when you're talking about the quality of that object.
No.
No.
Sangya, noun. When you are talking about sat,
As
not
the-
being associated with any object. Existence principle, not associated with any vastu, is Sangya. Whenever that vastu is associated with the object, then Sat is, existence is a adjective. How do I explain this? Supposing
Vachan, Sat Vachan.
no,
Now here
no,
Sat
no,
is
no, 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 please. Let me explain. Supposing there is a fire. What is the intrinsic quality of the fire?
Heat.
Now that fire not associated with anything. Can you feel the heat? If you want to feel the heat of the fire, what must happen?
You must touch.
Must come in contact with
With the
fire.
senses.
You have to either come close to it or you put your finger in the fire, right? So that fire can be experienced only when the fire principle is in contact with an object. And therefore, when you say that I am feeling hot, I means you're talking about your body, right? In front of the fire, you're standing and you're saying, I'm feeling hot. What is happening? The fire principle, the noun fire, has now become an adjective fire because it is a body which is feeling hot. The body is the noun and the hot is the adjective. You have converted that noun fire into adjective fire by bringing that fire into contact with an object. Okay, clear?
Not so clear.
What is not clear? Tell me.
I think it will take time. One has to really
No.
think over it. It will take time.
No, what is not clear? You're saying it's not clear. Something
Now,
must be not.
when not associated with an object, it's Sat.
The concept is very simple. When can fire be experienced?
When it comes in contact with something.
So then that is the noun. That is not noun fire. That is the Visheshanam fire. It is fire when you are using it in terms of I am feeling hot. You're using that term hot as Visheshanam, as an adjective. But when you are saying the fire by itself is hot, remember hot is not an adjective for fire.
Okay, fire is hot and fire is giving heat. That kind.
No. The word fire and the term heat, they are interchangeable. There is no fire without heat. So if you're going to say fire is hot, will you ever say fire is cold?
No.
No. So the term is interchangeable. You can say it is hot. You're using it as fire.
Yeah. Essay by chance.
Are you able to understand? Extremely important concepts. Okay. Now, and therefore, whenever you talk of an object, we talk about two types of buddhis. Okay, one is sad buddhi and one is object buddhi, vishaya buddhi. Whenever you say sad buddhi, it is, you are talking about sat as a sankhya. I will request you all not to, unmute yourself unless I'll ask you to. Sadbuddhi is whenever you use the term Sadbuddhi, you are using it as Sat as a noun, as a Sankhya, not subject to any changes. And whenever you use the word as Vishaya Buddhi, object Buddhi, then it is Asat Buddhi. Why? Because it is subject to change. Right? Now, for example, you have, let us say, a glass on your table. Please follow this very carefully. This is the basics of perception. You have a glass on your. I'm just going to mute all of you so that you can't unmute yourself. Okay. Then when I ask you a question, I'll mute you. Okay. Now, when you see, let us say, a glass on the table in front of you, that act of perception, we say there are two buddhis operating. Okay, one is the sat buddhi and one is the object buddhi. So buddhi literally means cognition, knowledge. There are two forms of knowledge over here. One is the book knowledge and one is the existence, not the is. When you see the glass in book, the glass in front of you, what do you say? There is a glass. So in a statement, there is a glass. Right now you can say there is a glass. After 15 minutes, you can say there is a flower. After some time, you can say there is a phone. After some time, you can say there is a plate, there is food. All these things you can say. What is constant in all this?
Is.
There is
The word is, there is constant. What is changing in all this?
the object, the Vishaya.
Object.
The Vishaya is changing.
So
So
the cognition is permanent.
the cognition is nothing but the statement that there is something. So there is, the is represents what? Existence. If you want to reword that, you can say the glass exists in front of me. So that exists in front of me is being replaced by the word is. There is a glass. And the object can always change, but the there is will never change. There is this, there is that, there is, even when you say something is not there, there is no glass in front of me. What is there? There is. There is represents the existence principle, what we call the Sat Buddhi. And the ever-changing object is what is called Asat Buddhi, the object Buddhi or the Vishaya Buddhi. The book comes, glass comes, plate comes, food comes. What is constant is that there is Sat Buddhi. There is, that is constant. Okay, that is what I'm trying to tell you. And this there is the Sat Buddhi is therefore being associated with what? With objects, book, glass, plate, food.
Huh.
Okay.
Was
So
this
I'm requesting you again and again, please do not unmute your mics unless you're about to say something. Somebody is constantly keeping the mic unmuted. All the sounds in our house are being recorded. The recording will not be good afterwards. Please don't do that. Okay. Now, the thing is that what is constant is Sat Buddhi, there is. What is changing is the object. And therefore we say Sat Buddhi is constant, but it is continuously being associated, being conditioned by some object or the other. Every object is what? Namarupa. So Sat Buddhi is constant, constantly being associated, being conditioned by some name and form. And even when nothing is there, Sat Buddhi is still there. Why? Because when the next object comes, it will get associated with that object also. So this Sat Buddhi is pure existence, is the noun. This is what is called Atma. The Atma alone remains as Sat Buddhi. Everything else is Nama Rupa Asat Buddhi. Okay. So when there are objects, Sat Buddhi is there along with the object. When there are no objects, Sat Buddhi is there, but alone. So any cognition of any object, remember, is Sat Buddhi plus a vritti, plus an object thought. Okay, this is what the most important part is. Whenever you see something, that Sat Buddhi there is always there. But that Sat Buddhi joins with a thought, like pot thought, glass thought, plate thought. So when that Sat Buddhi joins with the object thought, there is cognition, there is awareness. But when there is no object, the Sadbuddhi does not join with anything. Right? Joining with anything means that the Sadbuddhi is going to join up with a thought. When there is no object, there is no thought. And therefore, in between two thoughts, what exists is Sadbuddhi alone. That Sadbuddhi is also called Chidbuddhi. The Chidbuddhi is also called Sadbuddhi. Sat alone is Chit, Chit alone is Sat. Okay. Now tell me if you have any questions. It is a very heavy thing, so there could be questions, I'm sure.
So,
Yeah.
so to say that Sharmila herself is just an object I should consider that.
Consider what?
I should consider that the Sharmila herself is just an object.
I didn't follow. Who is an object?
Sharmila, meaning I myself, my existence as what I consider my Nam and Rupa is just a thought. It's just a
Yeah, I mean,
Mithya.
anything which you can
It's
perceive
Mithya.
is a thought. Anything which you can perceive is a thought. And therefore, everything is dependent upon Sat and Chit only. And because of this dependence of everything on Sat and Chit, you see, everything is Sat and Chit. Everything means what? Infinite. And because everything is dependent upon this Sat and this Chit, that is why the nature of Sat Chit is Ananta. So the Ananda of Sat and Chit has to be understood as infinite containment. So Ananta. Okay, that is it. So Sat, Chit and Ananda. This particular existence principle that we're talking about, the existence principle, which is Sat, the consciousness principle, which is Chit, and the happiness principle, which is Ananda. These are words used to describe Brahman. Remember, they are not qualities of Brahman. Because we say Brahman is Nirguna, no qualities. So they can only be used by us to describe Brahman, but they are not really qualities of Brahman. Okay.
So where we can
therefore
experience.
is there
No, one person at a time, please.
so therefore there is a difference between awareness and consciousness.
Not really. I mean, you can use it. If you are not conscious, you would not be aware.
No, so therefore the underlying principle is consciousness, but then when it starts working with an object, then you're creating awareness.
No, you don't have to use two words. You can say, I'm conscious of my watch. You don't have to say, I'm aware of my watch.
Okay.
So it's the same thing. It's two different words being used for the same idea being expressed. Okay. Now,
So where we can experience Sat Buddhi.
beg your pardon?
Where we can experience Sat Buddhi.
I would say, where will you not experience it?
So how means like in deep sleep or in meditation, something like that.
No. What is Sadbuddhi? Sadbuddhi is when you say this watch is there, what are you experiencing?
What?
You break it up into two pieces, no? There is
Yes.
There is.
as
So
one
there
part
is
Sadbuddhi and Vritti.
and watch is another
Watch.
part. Watch is the Asadbuddhi.
Asat Buddhi.
Sadbuddhi is there is.
Okay.
And therefore, whatever you do, whatever you experience, Sadbuddhi is always there.
Okay.
Sadbuddhi means existence principle in English, which means Brahman or Atma. So you can replace the Sadbuddhi concept with Atma. Atma is there and objects are there. When objects are not there, Atma is still there. There is no question of when can I experience Atma. The very fact that you can ask that question itself indicates that you are experiencing Atma. Because without Atma, Without that consciousness, how can you ask the question? If you are not conscious, can you ask?
Hmm.
So there is no time in your life, whether you are awake or asleep, or in deep sleep, or in nidra avastha, or in meditation, or in samadhi, when consciousness is not experienced. You don't have to go to samadhi for that. Samadhi, definitely you experience consciousness. But in your most active moments also, are you not conscious? Yes, you are.
So,
Thank you.
sir, sir,
Yeah.
so I'm just trying to now understand it in my mind when I said I really can't. So when there is, whenever it comes in contact with some object, then it can be open, it's open to buddhi, which means it can be cognized or it can be
You have to
known.
connect all this to Tattva Bodha.
Ah.
What is the connection here?
Sat Chitanand.
No. What is the connection with Tattva Bodha over here?
Sense, the sense organs, whatever comes in, wo pehla wala jo shlok tha, whatever comes in contact.
Anybody else? What is the how do you connect what I've just said to what you learned in Tattva Bodha?
Atman and
The
Atman.
Upadhi.
Beg your pardon?
Nam
Upadhi.
Rupa, Nam Rupa.
You connect to RC and RM and OC.
Oh, original.
What is Sadbuddhi?
Is original.
Sadbuddhi is OC.
Sadbuddhi is OC. What is object buddhi?
Is the
RC.
What is the object here?
RF.
The medium RM.
As simple as that. That is why we said Tattva Bodha is a must. Every concept in the Shastram can be traced back to Tattva Bodha. Remember that the moment you are in contact with something, it is the moment you observe something, the moment you experience something, that you is never OC. You is always the RC. The OC can never experience, only the RC can. But the RC cannot experience without the OC.
Without OC and RM.
Without OC and RM, of course, because RC is not there without both. That is why this Satyam Mithya concept is important. In this concept of RC and OC, which is Satyam and which is Mithya?
OC is
Satyam. RC is Mithya.
RM is Mithya.
No, RC is Mithya.
RC is Mithya. Why?
Because it is dependent on.
See, ultimately, even RM is Mithya. Okay. But for the purpose of the example, we are saying that RC is Mithya because it is dependent upon OC. RM itself is Mithya. But even if the RM was there, without the OC, there would be no RC. So both the dependent fact, see, is like a mirror, like mirror and sun, and the image of the sun in the mirror. That image of the sun has no existence without two things, without the mirror and without the sun. The RC has no existence without the mirror, the body, without the RM, and without the OC. Therefore, the RC is a mythical entity. It is Mithya. That is why mythical.
Om Raviji.
Yeah.
So can we say that the Sat Buddhi itself is independent of who has the Buddhi?
Sadbuddhi, the moment you say who, that who is Mithya.
Mithya. So this is the Sat Buddhi is like the Buddhi itself is there.
Buddhi means Atma, existence principle. You are using the Sadbuddhi and object Buddhi only on the RC, only on the Jiva, because the Jiva is actually cognizing an object and you are trying to analyze that to see in that process of cognition, what are the factors involved. You are saying one is the Sadbuddhi and one is the object Buddhi. So basically the Jiva is saying that I have consciousness which I have borrowed and there is a thought in that borrowed consciousness. The association of both those things, the original thought plus the original consciousness plus the object thought, that is what gives rise to the perception of something, of that object.
Acharyaji, may I ask one question?
Yeah.
You mentioned that Sat Buddhi alone is called Chit and Chit alone is Sat. So what is the difference between Sat and Chit if they are one and the other?
So let me ask you, if you don't exist, can you be conscious?
No.
And if you are conscious, would you know that you exist?
Yes.
So where is the difference? If you are only existing and there was no consciousness, would you know that you exist?
No.
That's it. And therefore, Sat alone is Chit, Chit alone is Sat.
Right.
They are just two different names. Sat and Chit are both the same.
All right. Okay.
Why I said that is important not to take consciousness and existence as separate things. Consciousness is existence. Existence is consciousness. And the whole thing together is Atman or Brahman.
And how do we relate it with Ananda?
Ananda is taken in Shastram as Ananta. Okay, Ananta means infinite. Infinite means everything is there. Normally you are happy when you get something. But if you have got everything, then is there anything more to get?
No.
So there is no question of being happy or not being happy. That is Ananta Ananda. That is why they call it Ananda. It has to be understood as Ananta only. The contentment because of which, because of the fact that nothing remains to be acquired, or nothing is outside you. Okay, it's been quite a heavy thing, so don't get what they call discouraged. We'll discuss this more. Next class also we'll probably do part of the same verse. Yes, somebody is asking.
Acharya ji, so then is something like saying there is also a complete in its own, because the changing principle we don't say
Rather than
is.
There is, you would say
Yes.
I am. When you say I am,
why?
there is never a problem.
Okay. Right.
When you say I am a girl, then it becomes a problem.
Okay, so I am, so there is means there is some separation or another thing. I am means just
I am is Atman.
Yes,
And therefore, there is no problem.
Right. So I am is complete in itself.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
So
yeah.
So this existence principle can, like the world is in existence principle, and it doesn't have consciousness principle, which is there with the Atma or with the Jiva. So
your understanding of Tattva Bodha is incomplete.
Okay.
The world is mithya.
Anything which exists, has it got Sat and Chit?
Yes.
Why does, for example, your glass in front of you, why doesn't it start talking to you or walking around?
Because it does not have Sukshma Shariram.
Absolutely. It doesn't mean that Sat and Chit are not there. It means that Sukshma Shariram is not there. Sukshma Shariram is required for Chit to be reflected. This is how you understand Tattva Bodha. For those of you who have not done Tattva Bodha, you will find this whole thing is going beyond the head. So if you have not done, no harm done. Please message me separately. I'll add you to the groups. We have a continuous session of Tattva Bodha going on all the time. So you'll have to attend at least 3 or 4 before you are able to really understand. Okay. So with this, we'll stop for today. There's no harm done. Next week also, we will open up for questions first, and then we'll carry on with the next verse. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience and dedication.
Thank you.
Please do revise this in the next class. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.